That's what I got. Shout out to Sniper.
It's not recording, is it?
Hopefully not.
Oh man, never ready. Bismillah, assalamu alaikum. My name is Muhammad Sabree, and I've just been accepted in the University of Madinah.
Bismillah, assalamu alaikum. My name is Aabid Muhammad. Been at the university for about 3 years, almost 4, from Atlanta, Georgia.
I'm from Atlanta, Georgia also. This guy, he's my brother. My dad's originally from a small county called Oglethorpe County in Georgia. Am I saying it right?
Oglethorpe County?
Yeah, like a little farm city, rural. Really rural farm city. That's where he's originally from. When he was young, he moved to Augusta. So he spent most of his youth in Augusta. Then he went to Atlanta Morehouse University for his college. He was in college in the 70s.
Early 80s, late 70s.
Yeah. When he was in college, that was the first time he ever even heard about Islam. You know, he got a hold of a Quran, learned about fasting. Eventually, he did more studying and, he fully committed to Islam and he started praying and he embraced Islam, mashallah.
During that time, when my father accepted Islam, it was still very new in Atlanta or in Georgia. There was only 2 masajid in the entire Georgia. It was Atlanta Masjid and the West End Masjid. There was only 2 masajid in Atlanta. And a mushaf, an actual Quran, was hard to come by. Like, that was a rare thing. It was all translation Qurans. As his thirst for knowledge began to increase and he wanted to actually learn how to be Muslim, he met a sheikh by the name of Abdurrashid Adiyatu from Nigeria, who's also a graduate mutakharrij from the Jamia Islamiyya with a double degree. He has a degree from Sharia and Da'wah. So some program that they used to have or may still have within the kingdom was that they would send du'ats who graduated from Islamic universities here to other countries to give da'wah. And they sent this sheikh to Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States to give da'wah. So, as anybody who's familiar with classes in the West, when a class first starts, it's crowded. You put out the flyers, they have advertisements after Jummah, and then the whole community comes out. But then next week, it's like half as many people who show up. The week after that, it's even fewer, and the numbers slowly dwindle down. And, unfortunately, that's become the culture for Islamic studies in the West. But throughout that entire phase, one of the only people who was consistent throughout that was my father until it got to the point where he was the only one showing up to class. So, at this point, it's not even a class, it's really just a one-on-one with a person of knowledge. So he used to follow the sheikh around and he would, ask questions wherever he could find them. If he had time in between his own work, school schedule, he would go follow the sheikh and just ask questions to the point that Sheikh Abdurrashid Adiyatu, he realized that his level of desire to learn was enough that he could make it, or that it wouldn't be satisfied until he got to Medina, until he got to an actual university. So at that point he told him, listen, you need to go to Medina, Saudi Arabia, and study Islam, firsthand.
You said in that voice?
No, I didn't say
you need to go to Medina
in that voice,
study Islam. Oh, okay.
But,
all right.
Yeah, so then he sent him on his way. And he was very reluctant about the idea of going to a foreign country like Saudi Arabia and all that. So he was still an American. He's still very new to Islam. All these ideas are very new. But he jumped into it and never looked back.
Yep. He withstood all the trials.
It reformed his whole perspective on Islam.
Do you remember the year he came to Medina?
I would say early 80s, maybe 80, 81, something like that.
If he graduated in 87, then it had to be around 80, 81.
Yeah, so when he came to Medina, he was one of the only 4 Americans in the university at the time. It's a lot of trials and tribulations that came along with that time that are even more so than now. He said, for example, they didn't have the same level of technology. A lot of students would go years without contacting home, speaking to their families, close ones, relatives, wife.
People didn't even last, right? Like he said, a lot of people just went home.
A lot of people just gave up.
They couldn't handle it. It's nowhere near as nice as it is now. So
So in 1987, he was the first American graduate from Faculty of Shariah. and he was one of the only 4 Americans who were accepted into the university prior. After he graduated, you know, he spent 30 years in prison. No,
Whoa. Whoa, me. Like, you know, the
color bar.
The little color. Wait, let's you know, clear it up.
Yeah.
He was working as a imam in the prison. He wasn't locked up, you know what I'm saying?
So after he graduated from the University of Madinah, he came back to Atlanta and he spent 30 plus years as a chaplain giving da'wah, you know, serving the community and those in difficult positions and whatnot, giving da'wah, encouraging people, strengthening their Islam, both inside and outside of the prison system. Until today, he's still active. He gives the khutbah at least twice a month. Does family counseling. He helps out Muslims on a smaller level within the community.
Yeah, and outside of the community. He does counseling. He does mental health and addiction counseling. So he's not only involved in the Muslim community, he's involved outside of the Muslim community also.
All right, so at the time he graduated in the year 87, the oldest of us was born, my older brother Aabid Sabree. He was ultimately to Kharij from University of Malaysia, Fiqh and Islamic Finance. So he was born in 87. 5 years later, 92, I was born. 94, my brother here, Muhammad.
But where were you born?
I was born in Michigan. And I was born in Atlanta.
And Abdul Hamid.
You a Grady baby?
Yeah, I'm a Grady baby.
You're a Grady baby.
Yeah.
And then in 96, Hamidi was born.
Shout out to the Grady babies.
Yeah.
You didn't even mention Hamidi. You skipped him. No.
You used to focus on shout outs with Grady babies.
I was. You gotta get your shout outs. Always plug. Always plug. So growing up in Atlanta as a Muslim, I was homeschooled, first of all. We're all homeschooled. So our parents really just try to, you know, teach us about Islam, give us a strong foundation from like a young age. Really, you know, us being homeschooled is a big part of that. You know, if you go out and, you know, start kindergarten and stuff like that in public school, you're going to be exposed to like, you know, a lot just being in public school. We were homeschooled, but we were also like involved in a lot of activities like sports, and we were always in sports. Swim was our first sport for all of us, because it's similar to know how to swim, know how to defend yourself. Correct me if I'm wrong. Defend yourself and and ride a horse. It was just, archery also. Archery is like the only one we didn't do, but we did swimming, we did self-defense, and we did a little horseback riding, but we didn't do it like organized. But other than that, you know, we're always in basketball, swim, karate, you know, ninjutsu, taekwondo, golf, anything you name it. They were trying to get us like exposure outside of the house to make sure we're balanced and not just, you know, these, you know, religious like kids that are always in the house and at the masjid and all they know is Islam and they're just naive to everything. Like most importantly, they made sure we had an Islamic identity. And I think they did a good job of like trying to make sure we're proud of it. Because if you're not proud of it, then like you can easily, as soon as you get to a teenage age or, you know, as soon as you start thinking you're a big man and all that, getting older, you can like start, you know, like, I don't really like Islam, like, you know, start changing to something else. So they really helped us be proud of being Muslims. And our oldest brother helped a lot too. You know, because, you know, the oldest brother's like the second dad almost, you know. So, I mean, that was really important for us. I think it's really important for everybody, you know, to be proud of being Muslim. That's really important. Or else you can get caught up and switch like that.
What are certain ways that they like help you be Muslim, you think?
Explaining Islam in a positive light, really, you know, really just giving a lot of positives of Islam, you know, and, you know, saying why things are good, you know, rather than just saying like, no, this is haram, that's haram. It's, you know, just, you can't do this, you can't do that. You know, just giving you a reason to like things, you know, okay, this is halal and this is really good. And, you know what I'm saying, all the good things about stuff, you know, that's really important. And then, I mean, also having fun with Islamic nursery rhymes, Islamic cartoons, Adam's World, stuff like that. all the educational Islamic stuff. When we got to like teenagers, there was like, activities at the masjid and stuff like that, that we could get into at an older age, since, we're not trying to watch cartoons anymore. I think instilling that, the foundation was key. Like as soon as we got older, us, going to Quran school, getting involved in, Islamic activities, that stuff just came naturally, because we are already, we knew we were Muslim. We weren't like, and we were proud of, like, we knew we were Muslim and that's what we were. And so it just all came naturally, going to Quran school and Islamic activities.
A big part of anybody's culture or their identity is like food and fashion, for example. So, and of course, also in the identity development stage, your primary identity is going to come from home. And so not only do we have role models like that in the house with both of my parents taking heed to that, and my parents dressed very Islamically, from hijab to almost niqab in most cases, with my mom, and my dad has a very tailored, clean look. His thobes and his attires, made to his fitting. He takes it very seriously. So we had good role models in that sense. And then we had also good standard set. When we were kids, we had a rule where you weren't allowed to leave the house without looking like a Muslim. This was the rule. So in most cases, in the beginning stages, it was just a kufi. You put on a kufi if you're not wearing a thobe or something like that. And then as we got older and had a better sense of style, we figured out other ways to incorporate a Muslim identity in our physical appearance, how we look, because we took pride in looking like Muslims every day. And then also in food, my mom's an excellent cook, and she refuses to be in competition with fast food chains and all this kind of regular stuff. And so when we would go on road trips or travel or go anywhere, she would always, make sure we had halal food. That was a standard we set for ourselves, that we only eat halal food. Even when we travel, we're looking for the Muslims, to do business with the Muslims, to eat with the Muslims.
Like even if they go to like a regular store, they know what's halal and what's not. We've been sticking to the same products since we were kids. Like,
taught us how to call the company. Religious reasons.
Like it's come to the point, like it comes to a point where we know all the scientific ingredients that aren't halal, like monodiglycerides, rennet, gelatin, all like even if I can't, even if it like. If I can't say off the top of my head, I'll know it if you say it. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're not gonna catch me lacking. Like, I'll know it's halal, it's not, man. Like, I don't play about that, man. Yeah.
So these things also helped incorporate a outward identity, not just like inwards. We're just Muslims in private, but we know how to interact with the outside world and be Muslim.
I was 11. Like, I just turned 11. I can remember it like so clearly. It was the beginning of 2006, right? I started Quran school, my first ever Quran. Well, we went to my brother's Quran school sometimes, like in Lawrenceville, like even before we started, right? Like we just went, so we had an idea. Yeah, we had an idea of how Quran school is, But I first really enrolled in Quran school when I was 11.
Yeah, so when I finished memorizing Quran, I was about 16, 17, and you were what?
When I finished, I was 12 when I finished. What are the youth into nowadays? Well, the Muslim youth, I can go from like both ends of the spectrum, like the religious ones and the non-religious ones. The ones that are less connected to the masjid, the ones that don't have as much religion in their household, I see those come to like Sunday class more, like, just once a week. They're like exposed to Islam and, are taught about Islam, and, you see everything. Muslim kids come, like, they don't know how to pray. They don't know how to make wudu. They don't know how to, do any of the simple stuff that they're supposed to know. And these kids are between the ages of 6 and like 17. So they're not getting it at home, that's first. Some of the Muslim parents sadly, they're not really doing their job of teaching them. And I mean, some of the Muslim parents, they come from foreign countries, but they're in America for the money, for the American dream, and a lot of times they're not even really religious themselves. So, they send them off to Sunday class, we teach them, and sadly those kids they're more involved in their public school lives, and they're not really giving outlets for Muslims, so they're doing stuff that people that aren't Muslim are doing. So they're doing sports, whatever they do in school. So like the modern religious ones are more like they've had a decent foundation, and they were taught Islam at a young age, but they went to public school, right? But they took more of the good out of public school, leadership qualities, public speaking. They did well in class. So they're Muslims, but they're also, they know how it goes. Yeah, so like those type of Muslims, they're more involved in like ICNA, YM, Young Muslims, MENA, like stuff like that, because I've been to a lot of those camps like in the past couple of years. A lot of their leaders are young. They're the people that we were just describing. There's like, it's for the youth, by the youth. Those kids are doing a lot of good work, and like they're leading camps, summer camps, weekend like retreats, just little programs at the masjid, and they're doing good work in the community, mashallah. And the more traditional religious youth, they're more involved in like masajid, giving like khutbah and trying to go overseas to learn knowledge, like to seek knowledge. And some of them are getting a little more involved into the modern activities. Like all the guys, like our teachers and like their little brothers, they're starting to come to like MIST, which is a pretty modern activity. It's like MENA and stuff. They're starting to judge the religious competitions and like be the religious figure at the more modern activities. So that's good. They're starting to get more involved in the more modern things. But mainly they're just more involved at the masjid, like giving khutbah and going overseas to seek knowledge and teaching like Quran school. You have a lot more young teachers at the madrasas now and the Quran schools. So that's what the more traditional Muslim youth are up to.
Yeah, so if I were giving advice to the parents or to the individuals themselves, the kids themselves, it would be to try to establish a foundation. If you're a parent, if you're the head of a household, you should be establishing an example in that household. So the average American Muslim might have a once a week exposure to Islam on Sunday schools at Jummah, something like that. Or people listen to lectures online and stuff like that. And usually get a little iman boost and try to ride off of that for a little while. And then they're right back to whatever else the environment is in America or in the West, and it's not complementary to that sort of lifestyle. So you kind of have to practice Islam. Islam's something you practice. You can't listen to it. You can't watch it. You have to practice it. So you have to try to practice everything that you know. And if you don't know how to practice, you got to learn first. So learn, establish, and practice is the most important thing. You can't expect one person or the imam at your masjid to raise your kids or to change the entire community by themselves if it's a team effort. Like, it takes a village to raise a child, people used to say. So
yeah, that's so popular. People just they like they'll drop them off. It's like, fix my son. Like, it can't just. This is like years of work. Why he's the way he is. So it's like.
So it's much easier if an entire community contributes than for one person to contribute to an entire community. If everybody does their part at home, tries to do something, comes together as a group, and we all say, we're all going to establish salat in our homes. People don't have to teach your kids how to pray when they come to the masjid. If you teach your kids how to make wudu at home, we can get them to the next level when they come to the masjid. You teach your kids how to read Quran at home. They can come to the masjid, they can sit with people who have knowledge and actually share the knowledge with them. But if you're not giving or establishing the basics, you'll never get past that. You'll never get to anything deeper, and you'll be struggling to hold on to the basics because a Western or non-Muslim environment is constantly going to take away from what you're doing. It's not going to increase it. So you got to establish yourself upon something, and if you don't, it's going to be hard to stand.